From the dawn of the Marvel Universe, powerful forces have been at play that we can only barely comprehend. From the 6 Infinity Stones to even the all-powerful gods above us, the Marvel Universe has always been bigger than just this plane of existence. But there is one person that can interact with the different planes of existence as well as protect Earth from all incoming evils through space and time. That person is known as the Sorcerer Supreme, the most powerful and mystical creature in this dimension. And while it's common knowledge that Doctor Strange is the current Sorcerer Supreme, he is by far not the only person to ever be given this prestigious title. Hey guys, my name is DJ, and Doctor Strange has easily proven to be one of the most powerful and surprisingly interesting characters in Marvel Comics. I mean, sure, Marvel is known to have superpowered and extraordinary heroes, but Doctor Strange is truly unlike anyone else in Marvel's deep catalog of characters. His magical abilities have given him seemingly unlimited power. He can destroy anything at a moment's notice. He can conjure any needed item in a heartbeat. And hell, he can even travel through the multiverse in the blink of an eye. And all of this power, all of this magic has led him to become the Sorcerer Supreme, the ultimate protector of this dimension. But he certainly wasn't the first Sorcerer Supreme. No, to find out the true history of the Sorcerer Supreme, we must go all the way back to the dawn of Earth itself. All the way back at the beginning of Earth, an entity by the name of Demerge visited this new green and blue planet. And upon its creation, Demerge decided to spawn a group of powerful beings called the Elder Gods. Among these cosmic beings was the Elder Goddess of Earth, Oster. And after a brief exploration of the cosmos, and after meeting another being named Hogoth, Oster returned to Earth. Upon her return at around 1 million BCE, she created a being by the name Agamotto. And even though the title of Sorcerer Supreme wouldn't be created until many years later, Agamotto essentially became the first Sorcerer Supreme. Agamotto, trained by Oster, went on a journey of discovering and mastering all forms of magic. During this journey, he created a few of the most powerful magical objects on Earth, including the Eye of Agamotto, which is used to reveal all truths, the Orb of Agamotto, which is used to monitor Earth as well as travel to different dimensions, and even the Book of Vishanti, which is a seemingly never-ending book full of spells and counterspells. And this long magical journey for Agamotto led him to become a near supernatural being and an all-powerful entity. And this status as a near godlike being led him to become 1/3 of the Vishanti. Composed of Agamotto, Oster, and Hogoth, the Vishanti have essentially become the go-to guides for the Sorcerer Supreme and protectors of Earth as a whole. So all in all, I would say that Agamotto was a pretty good first Sorcerer Supreme. He created some of the most powerful magical items on Earth, he mastered all forms of magic, and he even became one of 3 ethereal beings. Pretty good day at the office, you could say. However, Agamotto did have one major problem. You see, while Agamotto proved to be an amazing Sorcerer Supreme, some would say the best Sorcerer Supreme in history, he did have trouble trying to find a successor for his position. There were 2 failed disciples of Agamotto, one that died and one that started a worldwide war. The first being an Atlantean woman by the name of Sedna. After Agamotto trained her, and right before she was geared up to become the next Sorcerer Supreme, Sedna was assassinated. But following her death, and after a 1,000-year grieving process, Agamotto found another student in Shamhat Saraswati. However, after becoming Sorcerer Supreme, her clan, called the Birdmen, started a worldwide war within themselves. Due to the destruction of this war, everyone in the group was banished from Earth, and Shamhat was stripped of the prestigious title. However, Agamotto did find a way to eventually choose his successor. At around 10,000 BC, Agamotto hatched a plan alongside the great wizard aged Genghis. They decided to hold a battle among all of the most powerful mages on Earth at that time. And after the carnage, the bloodshed, and the exploding assholes, one woman came out on top. The Rain Queen, Aisha. But quite like the 2 Sorcerer Supremes that follow her, you can't really find too much to say about her reign as Sorcerer Supreme. Because after Asia, we go to Hermes Trismegistus, who was Sorcerer Supreme from 6000 to 3000 BC. And following him, there's that wizard-aged Genghis that I mentioned earlier. He was Sorcerer Supreme from around 3000 BC to 1800 BC. But following them, we move on to the now worshipped Sorcerer Supreme, Zoroaster. From 1800 to 1300 BC, Zoroaster had two main highlights as Sorcerer Supreme. One, he created his own religion called Zoroastrianism, and two, through his ever-growing ego and temptation, his mind essentially broke when he tried to wear the powerful artifact known as the Crown of Wisdom. And he is far from the only egotistical Sorcerer Supreme, as Salome, our next Sorcerer Supreme, would prove. Reigning from 1300 to 1100 BC, Salome proved that, with too much power, the Sorcerer Supreme can be rather self-absorbed. During her time, she demanded to be treated like a goddess. If you didn't bow at her feet, then you were an enemy in her mind. And while some of you may be into that, the Vishanti just couldn't get in on that action. So she was banished from Earth, being stripped of her status as Sorcerer Supreme due to her massive ego. But after her banishment, the title of Sorcerer Supreme would actually belong to a few groups of people. We had the Israeli King Solomon take up the title before eventually passing it on to his lover Balkis following his death. But after the power couple's reign as Sorcerer and Sorceress Supreme respectively, a group of three by the name of Triumvirate would all be named the Sorcerer Supreme at the same time. Inspired by the real-world political concept of a triumvirate, Marvel's triumvirate consists of Thales the Malaysian, Pythagoras of Samos, and Pherecydes of Syros. Their decision to join forces as a trio of Sorcerer Supremes comes from their belief that one single person shouldn't be in control, free to do whatever they want. But, sadly, this decision would ultimately end in defeat. After a short reign of only 150 years, Caius of the Satamans challenged all three for their title as Sorcerer Supreme before ultimately defeating them in battle. But his reign ultimately wasn't too notable, unlike his predecessor Zhang Zhao. After becoming Sorcerer Supreme in the year 100 CE, Zhang Zhao decided to use his power to help lead the Yellow Turban Rebellion in China. And following this, shall we say, revolutionary reign, it was Merlin who decided to take up the mantle of Sorcerer Supreme after initially refusing in the year 500. But Merlin's intriguing qualities actually come from what he's done since, with him eventually becoming a prominent being in a realm outside of our own called Otherworld. Here, he has protected our existence by manipulating certain events in order to let our reality continue. But even though Merlin could protect our entire existence from collapsing in on itself from Otherworld, he sadly couldn't protect the long line of Sorcerer Supremes that would follow him. Between the years 616 and 1450 CE, every single Sorcerer Supreme would be met with an instant death. Every time someone was named a Sorcerer Supreme, a demonic being called American Hellguard would swoop in and instantly kill them. That is, before he too was eventually killed by a powerful gun that was designed to destroy mythical creatures called Hitler's handgun. But now we finally get to someone that you might actually start to recognize within the context of the Marvel Universe. Because the one who would end up defeating Merikant during his reign as Sorcerer Supreme would be Yao, the Ancient One. Yeah, I know that Yao was actually a woman in the Doctor Strange movie, but she was actually a man in the comics. But I still might use footage of female Yao from the Doctor Strange movie during the process of this video as B-roll, but you get what I mean, okay? Yao was a man in the comics, it's fine, it's the same character, just roll with me. As a young man learning the arts of magic, Yao made a decision to become the greatest sorcerer in the world. His noble goal was to eventually use all of this magic to protect Earth and destroy all evil sorcerers. and his wish to become a master sorcerer was met when he eventually met a sentient embodiment of our universe called Eternity. During this meeting with Eternity, Yao was given the Amulet of Agamotto before turning into the new Sorcerer Supreme. And during Yao's long reign as Sorcerer Supreme, his mission of taking on monsters and evil sorcerers would actually prove to be quite successful. He would take on and defeat the likes of Zorak the Outcast, Morwen, and even Dormammu. But after a long reign as Sorcerer Supreme, Yao would continuously look to find out who his replacement could be. And oh boy, did he have a ton of options before finally settling on his strange successor. But more on him later. Because the first person that Yao would look to as his replacement would be a man by the name of Reverend Hiram Shaw. Arguably, the most fucked up Sorcerer Supreme in history. The thing that makes Hiram Shaw so interesting is that he's actually a reverend for a little town you might have heard of called Salem, Massachusetts. You know, the place with the Salem witch trials. So this guy was a Sorcerer Supreme, the master of all magic, in the heart of a town that is trying to kill anyone who did magic. And he even had a woman killed for being a witch! A woman by the name of Abigail Harkness, a possible relative of Agatha Harkness, was arrested because he lied about her killing his wife and told the town that she was a witch. Which, I mean, she was a witch, but he knew that she definitely did not kill his wife. So, yeah, I guess you could say that he was rightfully stripped of being Sorcerer Supreme. And so, Yao decided to find another potential successor in Isaac Newton. Yeah, that's Isaac Newton. But in the Marvel Universe, Isaac Newton actually turns out to be an interesting character. Even more interesting than in real life. You see, before his time as Sorcerer Supreme, Newton traveled the world to learn more about science and magic. During this time, he stole and found many magical artifacts, including a Spirit of Vengeance and even the Elixir of Life. Hell, Newton learned so much about the world and magic as a whole through his travels that he was just given the title of Sorcerer Supreme when Yao was temporarily presumed dead. But, well, to be honest, Isaac Newton was just kind of a dick in the Marvel Universe, even going so far as to kill everyone who he felt intellectually threatened by. So the search for another Sorcerer Supreme would continue on, with us finally getting another person worthy of the title in the 1800s. And the person who would take up that mantle was Kushala, the Demon Rider. After being possessed by a spirit of vengeance, Kushala became a very powerful and almost demonic woman. But Kushala saw this as more of a curse than a real gift. So she went searching for a cure to this presumed illness by studying as much magic as she could. Eventually, it was this spirit of vengeance power and all of this studied magic that led her to just becoming a Sorceress Supreme. But moving on from our demonic Sorceress Supreme, we have Nina the Conqueror in the 1950s. And if you just want to know everything that we have on her, I'll read this little quote from Doctor Strange. Her name is Nina. She calls herself the Conqueror. She's Brazilian, a Sorcerer Supreme from the 1950s, and that's all I know about her. Seriously, that's the quote they used to describe her on the Marvel fandom page. I guess Doctor Strange was never the best with subtlety. And speaking of, I guess it's time to finally get to our current and final Sorcerer Supreme with Doctor Strange. Formerly a successful neurosurgeon, Stephen Strange suffered an accident that destroyed all of the nerves in his hands. In his mission to find a way to cure himself of this disability, he learns of a person by the name of the Ancient One. After some conversation between the two, the Ancient One decided to reveal his magical abilities to Stephen, and Strange immediately decided to become his student. And with his combined knowledge of science and magic, Doctor Strange was named the Sorcerer Supreme. With this title, Doctor Strange promises to protect all of Earthrealm alongside his superpowered allies from any incoming threats. But interestingly enough, Doctor Strange has lost his title of Sorcerer Supreme a handful of times to characters like Brother Voodoo and even Loki of all people. But the title of Sorcerer Supreme obviously always came back to Doctor Strange in one way or another. And that finally concludes our history of the Sorcerer Supreme. From the great Agamotto to King Solomon to hell even Isaac Newton, the long magical history of the Sorcerer Supreme has proven to be a bizarre but rather interesting journey. And with Doctor Strange currently reigning as the Sorcerer Supreme, you have to wonder who Marvel will pick as their next magical master to follow him in that position. Whether that be one of their superpowered beings, an alien visiting Earth, or even just some random guy on the street, I do believe that Marvel has a pretty interesting lineup of characters that could become their next magical master, their next Earthrealm protector, their next Sorcerer Supreme. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Who do you think is the most interesting Sorcerer Supreme we've had in history? And what other videos would you like to see from me about Marvel's mystical arts? Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. But until next time, have a good day. Bye-bye.